pulses of knowing that could bring unique solutions, or a monkey mind that you just can't shut off. What's really worth knowing? The instinct for truth and lies. What improvements could you make towards material success? These are all questions and pressures that this cycle of the human design weather for April 26th to May 3rd, 2025 will bring. Hello, hello. I'm Margot Fraser, your guide through the cosmic weather. As a certified human design professional and intuitive coach, I'm on a mission to help you know, live, and love the magic of your true nature. In this podcast, Human Design Whether or Not, we explore the conditioning influences of the planetary motions, the transit field. You can't avoid the conditioning pressures. You'll likely notice their effects playing out around you, but rather than you reacting and being pulled off track, this awareness will empower you to navigate the cycle, staying true to your authentic nature and take advantage of opportunities when correct for you. Okay, let's get into the weather for this cycle. This cycle begins April 26th at 9:39 a.m., going until May 3rd at 4:37 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Universal time coordinates, that's April 26th at 3:39 p.m. until May 3rd at 10:37 a.m. So remember to convert that to your own time zone so that you know when it starts and ends for you. We always start with the Sun Earth activations because that's 70% of the conditioning field. The Sun has moved into gate 24, the gate of rationalizing, the return. And it has a keynote that says the natural and spontaneous process of transformation and renewal. Part of the individual circuitry, so it operates in a pulse. One moment it's there, and the next moment it's not. You know it, oh, and then it's gone. You transform here the pressure to know into a new knowing or not. This is in the Ajna Center, our mental awareness center, where we conceptualize and analyze and compare all the things that the mind loves to do. It's the awareness here to struggle for knowing or not. Can it be known? Is it really worthwhile to know it? It's just not about recognizing what is knowable. It's also about whether you should struggle for that knowing or not. Again, individual, so it can be empowering. It wants to be mutative, to bring through something new. So here, the individual mind wants to know that this knowing that pops in really is new. So the mind's going to go through its comparison process to other things that it knows to make sure it's really new, which creates a very busy, busy mind. So you might sense that if this is impacting you this cycle, that, oh, yeah, it's hard to turn the mind off. You have to resolve whether it's knowable, whether it's worth knowing, and we're struggling for. Is it really original? Is it really new? This is also a mind because it can be so busy that craves silence. So you may find yourself really desiring, like, oh, mind, like, just stop, stop. I just need silence. When there's nothing new to know, that's when the mind can just quiet down for this particular quality. The potential opportunity here is that a new knowing may pulse through. It's a time when there could be a lot of philosophical conversations going on, or conversations about more esoteric type subjects that are out of the mainstream, which can be quite fun, quite enriching. The caution here is you could get caught up and waste time and energy on trying to know something that is not of value and is not knowable. With this trait, you might want to be prepared since it does operate in a pulse that just comes in and then goes as quickly as it comes. To have a voice recorder or be able to quickly text or jot down a note of anything that does pop in for you, because it could lead to some new solution to a problem, which would be really great. The Earth has moved into gate 44, the gate of alertness, also called coming to meet. This is in the splenic center, our most primal awareness center that operates in the now. It's associated with survival, with health, with well being. And this is a tribal trait, which always has an underlying theme of mutual support. So you may notice that over the cycle, looking to give support, looking to get support. This is part of the entrepreneurial side of the tribal circuitry that's involved in bringing in the resources for the tribe. The equivalent is your family, your community, your business. Specifically, this trait is part of the continuous improvement process. When you're making an improvement, it means there's going to be a change and you have to get people on board with it. So it's part of a channel that's called the channel of the transmitter. You've got to transmit the change. There's an instinct within this, a real nose. This is the gate, the trait of the nose that is really attuned to what change needs to be made, how it needs to be made, and what's the framework that needs to be in place to get that change made successfully. And who can help sell that change? This is a trait that points up to the ego center, the heart center in human design, the willpower center. It points to gate 26, which is the trait of the egoist. That's the one who can help to sell the change. The framework is a way of organizing, and organizing is inherently hierarchical. Not everyone climbs to the top of the ladder, right? Think about it in business. Only one person can be the CEO, typically. Only one person can be the president. Not everyone needs to be or wants to be even at the top. So the 44, this gate, also part of its instinct is being able to instill a sense of self worth to those within the business or the community, regardless of where they are in the hierarchy. It's a real beautiful part of this trait. Now, the nose for the ego, who can help make the change, is also the nose for truth and lies. So that's something that may be enhanced for you over this cycle is, that smells a little fishy. Again, it points to the egoist in the willpower center. And the egoist can be the great truth teller or the great liar. The keynote for this trait says the success of any interaction is based on the absence of any precondition. It's in the splenic center. It operates in the now, out of instinct. And since it is instinctive in the moment to recognizing that correct ego, there's no preconditions in place here. So the potential opportunities for you here over this cycle could be to gain an awareness of what to improve, how to improve, and who can help you along the way, selling any change, selling the continuous improvement that you want to make, and what framework does need to be in place for successful implementation. You might get a real sense of who's telling the truth and who's not, who's got a healthy ego and really believes in what they're selling, what they're transmitting, and who's just trying to pull the wool over your eyes. The cautions are that when you put a framework in place and need to make a change, it means that there are going to be people that are resistant. The tribe is inherently conservative as it is, and you can't please everyone. However, if you do try to people please and compromise that framework, you may not achieve the desired outcome. Every splenic gate carries a primal fear. And here it's the fear of the past, the fear of extinction, the fear of extinction. If you don't continuously improve, especially in the business sense, you can be surpassed by others and the business could stagnate. It could fail. So it's a motivating fear as long as it doesn't turn into overwhelm or making not self decisions out of the pressure rather than following your strategy and authority. When we look at these two traits together, the process of change may bring in a new pressure to know that could give your mind something to chew on that then enhances the whole process in a unique way. Or you could get stuck in a mental loop of going over and over past failures. All right, let's move into looking at the channels being created this cycle. When the transit field creates a channel, everyone who doesn't already have it in their chart is receiving the activation of the related traits and qualities. So there's a big impact. We have two medium-term channels this cycle. One is actually a leftover, our first one from the last cycle. So April 25th in the last cycle at 4:45 p.m. This will complete on April 30th at 11:08 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time, UTC. It came in at 10:45 on the 25th, going until April 30th at 5:08 p.m. We had Mercury move into that gate 21, the trait of the hunter, the huntress, the trait of control, the president of an organization in the ego center, that heart center, that motor that generates willpower. It's connecting with gate 45, the trait of the gatherer in the throat center, being activated by Jupiter. Together, they create the channel of the money line, a design of a materialist. This is the tribal leadership channel where energy is exchanged for matter, for resources, and back again. 45 is the voice of the king, the queen. We could equate it to the CEO of a business that is outward facing and gathering support for the business. While that 21 in the ego center, that gate of control, is like the president who's more inward facing, ensuring that everything in the business is getting done and that people have what they need to accomplish what's needed overall in the business. Tribal traits, again, carry that theme of mutual support. So that's going to be a pressure that's there in the field. This is a channel that's very focused on resources and what you can control or not. The 45 is the voice of I have, I don't have, I need, I don't need, or we have, we need. So it's going to be amplified through this. The potential opportunities that it brings, well, this channel is actually very interested and invested in providing education to its business, to the community, the family. The more educated everyone is, the more the tribe, the community, the business can rise up, the better chance it's going to be of having success. There can be a real generosity within this frequency with the resources that you do have. It can be very philanthropic, this frequency. It could also support you in putting your resources in order and using your willpower to do that. The cautions here, well, because this is both the CEO and the president, it could have you take a real do-it-yourself attitude. I mean, if you do have this channel in your own design, it really is best for you to work for yourself or be very autonomous in the work that you have within an organization. If you don't have it, though, and it's coming in through this frequency, you could end up taking on something that is really not for you to do, or actually leaving a job and going out on your own when it might not be correct for you. Of course, if you've been thinking of going out on your own, like it's like, yep, this is what I need to do, this is going to give you a little boost in that way. The other caution here is that you might buy things that you can't afford out of the ego, that activation, rather than what you really need. There could be a tendency to be over controlling, especially if you don't have that gate 21, the trait of control in your own design. So, in terms of spending, if you don't have a lot of monetary resources, window shopping is a better way to go to kind of give a balm, per se, to this energy that could be helpful. All right. If you do have this channel, the other important thing for you is, yeah, you might be, or you are designed to work independently at the same time, or work for yourself. You've got to learn to delegate or you're going to burn yourself out. Remember that 65% of people do not have the willpower center activated. So if you're one of them, be very careful while this activation is in place that you're not making promises. You shouldn't be making promises ever. You have an undefined heart center. But with this activation coming in, it's going to give you a boost potentially of willpower. And oh, yeah, I can get that done. And then the activation goes away and it's like, oh, why did I say yes to that? So just be very careful about what you take on. Okay, so on April 30th at 11:08, Mercury's going to move out of 21, but into gate 51, which is going to connect with Neptune's position, gate 25. So this is coming in again April 30th at 11:08 a.m., going until May 4th at 10:12 a.m., which takes us into the next cycle. That's Mountain Daylight Time. UTC, it comes in April 30th at 5:08 p.m., going until May 4th at 4:12 p.m. Gate 51 is the trait of shock in that ego center, connecting with gate 25, the trait of the spirit of the self, of innocence, and universal love being activated by Neptune. This is an individual channel that can bring a pulse of knowing of what leap into the void of the unknown to take, to stretch yourself, initiating you into a new sense of self. This channel is part of the centering circuitry, which is very empowering, can be very empowering to support you in accepting yourself as you are, coming more deeply into yourself. It's a real opportunity that this channel activation provides. It also brings an opportunity to be able to adapt to any shocks that are coming in. The caution, though, and what we will most often see playing out around us is competitiveness. This is the channel of initiation, a design of needing to be first. It's meant to be challenging yourself, but how it usually plays out is being very competitive with each other out of the ego. So something just to watch for. You may feel that pressure over that time period it's activated. This brings us to our long-term transits that are created by the outer planets and the nodes of the moon. They're with us for a longer period of time, in some cases, years. So your not self mind could start thinking that they're part of you, even when you don't have them in your own design. And it could be a little confusing when that transit finally moves on to something else. So we don't have any channels being created by the long-term transits themselves. The nodes, which have to do with our environment and direction, continue to sit in gates 38, the trait of crisis, and gate 6, the trait of conflict and friction. Like last cycle, they're still sitting in line 5. The north node's about our perspective and direction, what we see when we look out into the world. Crisis, gate 36. And we have Saturn activating this trait as well. So that's amplifying this particular trait and quality, the crisis that is out there. Now, crisis at its root is going through a new experience. Being a novice, I haven't been through this experience before. Oh, right, that can be a little nerve-wracking. It's sitting in line 5, which is called the underground, which could have you seen that no matter what, like you can really make it through crisis, make it through any experience. That's the exaltation. Or in the detriment, we could see people who really don't believe that they can make it through crisis without trying to force the timing, which is just going to create another type of crisis. This is part of the abstract experiential circuitry, beginnings, middles, ends. It's cyclical, and you have to respect the cycle. Saturn is activating line 6, and it is in the detriment. Now, Saturn's already a more serious frequency with its qualities of limitation, constraints, discipline, consequences. This could potentially be a bit depressive, as the detriment is about the sorrow and the cynicism that, sure, you can get the experience, but that's not the end of crisis. There's just going to be something else that I don't have experience in. Okay. So if you're noticing that sense within yourself or around you, yeah, this is the transit field. The south node of the moon has to do with what's in our environment, and it's in line 5 called arbitration. So it has a theme that is all about really the analytical diligence and emotional control that permits a higher authority to judge conflict. Exaltation is quite nice. It's the harmony furthered through the avoidance of direct conflict. We tend to see the detriments play out, which is insensitivity to the concerns of others in conflict, where a party to arbitration sees itself as the best possible judge and will only accept judgment if it's the victor. So if we look around the world at some of the wars that are going on, I mean, this plays out in the big stage and on our small personal stage, right? If the side or sides in the conflict need to be seen, if the ego is involved, I have to be seen as the winner before they end a conflict, it's not going to go well. It's going to be pretty tough to arbitrate. On a personal level, though, if you do have a situation that needs arbitration, this frequency being present could be really supportive. Jupiter is sitting in that gate 45, that tribal trait of the gatherer that we talked about in the channel, this tribal leadership trait. It's the only voice of the tribe. I have, we have, I don't have, we need, all those things can come out of this voice. And it's in line 5 called leadership. Now, it's also in detriment. So this is what we're likely to see here is the pressure and the drive to lead where one hasn't actually earned the level of respect to be able to do it successfully. So watch for those. Jupiter expands things, right? So watch for those that don't have leadership experience who are trying to portray that they do. This is a trait that can also be possessive. That's not necessarily good or bad, right? You want to possess the resources to distribute to everyone, but it could also be the negative possessiveness as well. It will bring attention, though, to material resources. You might find yourself having more energy put into, oh, what do I have? What don't I have? What do I need? How am I going to get it? How do I need to manage my resources? Okay. Uranus position is sitting in gate 8, the individual trait of contribution in the throat center, sitting in line 2 called service. So it could bring through you an unusual individual contribution to the whole that could really serve others in a beneficial way. And where you're just being you and not wanting anything out of it. Hey, follow what I'm doing if you want, but I'm just doing my thing. In its polarity, the detriment, it could also be like, sure, yeah, I'll bring through my unique expression. I'll be an example, but I want something for that. There's a price. Neptune, sitting in that gate 25, we talked about the trait of innocence, spirit of the self, universal love in the G center. The G center is about love, identity, and direction in life. It's moving into line 4 on April 29th, which is a nice line. There's no polarity to it. It's something that we learn over time. And what it says is the nature of true innocence can be maintained regardless of circumstances. So it's really staying in that innocence, looking at things with fresh eyes, like a newborn looking out at the world for the first time, regardless of what's going on around you. That gives you a certain perspective. It's not jaded. This is the spiritual warrior. Now, Neptune. Neptune could veil this ability, but it could also unveil it and help you to go into the depths of the unknown within yourself. Pluto sitting in that gate 41, the trait of contraction and decrease in the root center, bringing that drive to start a new experience, part of that abstract experiential circuitry. This is the trait of daydreaming and fantasizing about the next experience that you want to have. Just a reminder that in the end, it does have to be practical or of value in some way. So daydream, fantasize, yes, but eventually it's going to have to be something of value to really support you as you move along your path in life. Remember that for any of these traits, if you don't have them in your own design, it's just pressure. It's just the pressure of the transit field. You can observe it playing out around you. You can learn from it, but whether there's actually something for you to do from it is from your own strategy and authority. So don't let these frequencies run you or puppet you. When you look around in the world, you're going to see a lot of people who are being run by these frequencies. This brings us to the end of the cosmic weather for this cycle. If you want to run your own chart, you can go to jovianarchive.com. If you're new to human design and you want to understand the basics of the body graph at a high level, what's the black and the red about, the different geometric shapes, maybe you want to know a little bit of background on the human design system, you can grab my free Human Design Basics mini course. It's at margotgfraser.com/human design. All right. If you enjoyed this podcast, I would be very grateful if you could give it a like or consider subscribing. I really appreciate that. If it's correct for you, just be aware, be present to knowings that might want to come through for you in this cycle. One thing I want to say about those pulses of knowings here in that mental circuitry that's being activated is we have no control over when or if a pulse is even going to come through, which is why you just have to be present, open. If there's a knowing that comes through, quickly make note of it because it can leave so quickly as well. There could be that monkey mind going on. Just make sure that you're not making decisions from your mind. Your decisions come from your strategy and authority, but at least you'll understand what's going on. Or if there's no pulse coming in, you might find that the silence of the mind is really nice in this cycle. Again, you might have that sense that knows for truth and lies and what changes to make towards what you want to achieve. So utilize that to your advantage if it's correct for you. If you notice any fear of the past baggage, what if things don't work out? Oh, this happened in the past. I don't want to repeat that. Again, that's coming from the transit field. Do your best to stay present, let that go. Don't let the mind grab onto it and keep playing it over and over and over again. Try and have the mind like just move that into the background. You might not be able to stop the mind from chewing on it, but let it float to the background. All right. Trust your strategy and authority to guide you. Have a fantastic cycle. Be kind to one another, and may you know, love, and live the magic of your true nature. Until next time, bye for now.